Listen up. I've been called into over 50 businesses in the last 2 years, and here's the brutal reality that most entrepreneurs don't want to admit. 9 out of 10 businesses are one operational bottleneck away from collapse. Today, I'm going to show you the exact system that I use to diagnose and fix these hidden killers of business growth. And trust me, what I'm about to share with you has saved these businesses millions. Most entrepreneurs think that their problem is marketing or sales, but 90% of the time, the problem goes much deeper. Let me break down for you these 3 critical operational red flags. Insufficient process mapping. When you're in your business and you've all seen it, these entrepreneurs that just don't understand all of the things that happen in the business. And it's a reality, right? As the business starts to scale, more things start happening out of your control, and you just lose that touch on what's actually happening. But you don't have a go-to resource or a knowledge base that really documents exactly all the things that happen in your business in a map where you can easily digest it. Communication breakdown. Again, as the business starts to scale, you bring in on more people, you're communicating with external parties, you're communicating with internal parties. There starts to be a communication breakdown where teams aren't talking to each other, things are getting missed, pieces of work aren't being handed across departments so that the flow of the business can run in the most efficient manner. And scalability limitations. So you start thinking, okay, marketing and sales is my main problem. If I can just scale them, the business will grow. But the reality is that 99% of businesses, if they took 1,000 new customers on tomorrow, would break just due to scalability limitations that they can't possibly handle that inflow of business. So first you need to fix these systems and these operational bottlenecks before you can really scale. Now look, we've all been there. When I first started in business, and even today when I start going into businesses, people are drowning in spreadsheets, there's missing connections across departments, and people, and myself included, when I'm trying to fix these businesses, spend more time fixing the chaos that's going on than actually growing the business and making these improvements. So we always have to revert back, get the fundamentals fixed first, get communication flowing, information stored in a centralized place where we can actually lay that foundation for growth. And before we do that, it's crazy, it's chaos, and we have to fix these things first, otherwise you'll just hit a bottleneck at some point. This still happens to me today, and it used to happen to me right at the very start before I discovered a method that just changed everything. So in this video, I want to share with you a 4-step operational breakthrough method that's going to help you fix these issues and scale your business to the next level. How to identify where your business is bleeding time and money. So first, we need to collate all the information, right? Look at what's currently going on, look at the P&L, look at the expenses, look at the team members, where they're currently spending time on tasks, what is actually happening in the business, and start collating all this data to go, okay, start to finish, what actually needs to happen to go from point A to point B, what needs to be spent in terms of time and money, and everything else needs to be cut. Right? We need to get lean, we need to get efficient, because right now we're working out point A to point B. Consistency and then efficiency are going to be your primary drivers. Let's get consistent first, work out exactly what needs to happen, and then we'll get efficient later. But it's all good and well saying that, but how do you actually do that? How do you do a deep dive into the business, get X-ray vision all over the operations, all over the money flow, and actually find out where you're bleeding this time and money? Well, later on in the video, we're going to do a live demonstration of a business mapping tool that I use. It's developed by us. And this is how we deep dive into the business, truly understand every single process, truly understand every single piece that needs to happen to go from point A to point B, deliver the service or product, keep things lean, keep things efficient, and truly squeeze the most out of a business. And this is exactly what we'll do if we go into a business. Like, if I go into a business and consult and they're already a certain period down the line, maybe they're making money, maybe they're not making money, but some operations are happening, the first thing we're going to do is this X-ray. We're going to go in, we just need to find out exactly what's happening. We're going to start mapping out the key processes in the business, start understanding what is that first touch point, what is the dream outcome, what are the list of things that need to happen to go between those 2 points, and start in a sequential order, start mapping them out and truly understanding what's happening. we're also going to then have the P&L on the side. If a P&L exists, or there's bank accounts, there's some form of money flow happening in or out, we're going to start understanding that. What are the points we're bringing in money? What are the points money's going out? And start mapping these two things together to go, okay, how do the processes work? How does the money flow work? How do we deep dive on this and truly understand what's happening? We want to make sure there's no time being spent on things that aren't driving money in, and we want to make sure there's no money going out that isn't driving future money coming in. So really get lean, clean the operation up before we even work on any operational efficiencies. There's no point scaling something right now that isn't efficient to start with. Next, we look at communication, especially in businesses that have started to bring on a few people, maybe they're even between 5 and 10, and this issue will only get worse as you start bringing on more people if you don't fix it. There becomes these silos of communication in your business. Maybe it's by department, maybe it's by individual people, maybe it's groups of people. And sometimes even businesses, you see the founder sit as this original point of contact where everyone communicates with them and through them, and information just has to go through them, otherwise it doesn't pass through the business. And they become this conduit of communication going through, which might be okay when it's a 1, 2, 3 person team, but as you start to get to a 5, 10 person team, you're trying to scale with speed, they become this blocker, right? They become the conduit of information, they become the conduit of all the knowledge in the business. Information doesn't pass around the business unless they're part of the communication. So we need to break these silos, we need to get all data in a shared place where it can pass between departments specifically, in an efficient manner where information can't be lost. It's clear what needs to happen. It understands when it needs to happen. So breaking down these silos and creating transparent, efficient communication systems. And look, we've all heard of the task management tools, we've all heard of Slack, but really understanding how to use these effectively, how to set up workflows, if that's going to be a thing where this action triggers a piece of communication to go to the next department, where you can create these repeatable systems that happen where data isn't lost. Like we've all seen the situation where sales maybe sells someone, it doesn't properly get handed over to onboarding properly, so the onboarding process isn't great. That doesn't get handed over to account management in a great way, so account management are playing catch up on onboarding, who are playing catch up on sales, and it's just a bundle of information all over the place, and it really slows down the process. It means you're not efficient, so you can't scale properly. You have these scalability limitations. You can't take on a ton of clients because you're stuck. And the client doesn't have a great experience either. So you're not going to get referrals. You might experience churn, and it basically completely breaks down the business on a simple fix, which is just communication. So we want to get the teams talking, we want to get data flowing around the business in an efficient manner, and we want to have a centralized place for this information to sit that everyone can feed into and use to pass around the business. So some of the tools and strategies that I would use to get that going is first establish a main place for information, right? What is the single source of truth in the business? And you may have heard that term before. What does it mean? It means the one system or the one data area in your business where the information is true. You may have a ton of different systems that you're using. You may have spreadsheets here, spreadsheets there, but what is the main hub of information that is the truth, the single source of truth, that if you go there and you get the data from there, it is correct. And it needs to always be the one that's updated. It needs to be the one that is used for communication, used for workflows, and it feeds the other systems, and the other systems feed it, but it is always up to date. So first establish a single source of truth. This is the information. This is where it's housed. Next, we need to have a communication channel. If you're not currently using a Slack or some form of system to manage team communication, establish those. Get some groups going, maybe split them into topics, marketing, sales, onboarding, account management, finance. Get topics where you can specifically talk about specific departments or specific actions in the business and break down these topics so you can understand, okay, when we're talking here, this is what we're talking about. Or we need to talk about this topic, where do we talk about it? Okay, this is the chat that we talk about finance. Even get fancy, start setting up some automations. When X action happens, a message goes into this topic chat. When a new lead fills out our onboarding form or a new ticket comes into your customer service platform like Zendesk, Maybe it automatically triggers a ticket that posts into your customer service chat. Start getting communication flowing where data flows around the business. People know where to talk about specific topics. People know where to find information about specific topics, and they can always reference back to that single source of truth. So now you've got a single source of truth, data warehouse, you've got communication in topics so that it doesn't all get mumbled, but it's open, right? People can see it, people can get the information. It's not siloed where the information isn't passing around the business. So these are the two first things I would set up. Make sure data is available and communication is open. And then we can start getting into some other tactics at a later point. And then we need to start looking at a scalability roadmap. So we need to be designing systems that will scale with the business. So thinking, okay, how do we design a system that doesn't only fit our needs today, but is going to also help us in the future, right? So can we grow with this? When are we going to be bottleneck? And that's a decision that you need to make, right? Is, okay, this might take us up to 1,000 clients. It's not something we necessarily need to spend time and resources and money getting absolutely perfect right now, but you're designing a system that's going to allow you to scale up to a certain point, and you have a plan on how to improve that system later, but not just addressing today. Because if you just address today and you build systems that aren't scalable, then you're going to get bottlenecked immediately. And you're going to have this issue where if you go out and try and solve marketing and sales, which most of the businesses are trying to do, they're just trying to solve marketing and sales. If you actually achieve that and nail that goal and get an influx of clients coming into the business, you're going to lose all those clients the next day because the systems you have aren't able to take care of it. So maybe that's, you don't have the lead form on your website pointing anywhere. Maybe it's just pointing to an email that gets sent to one sales guy or one email box that no one manages. And it's just a system that is not scalable. So if you get 1,000 leads filled out tomorrow, it's going to be an absolute mess and no one's going to get handled. You're going to lose the business. You're going to waste time on marketing and you're going to have a bad brand image. So build systems that are scalable with today and just fix them one at a time. What's the biggest bottleneck in the issue? How can we solve this with a system? How can we integrate it into our single source of truth? How can we integrate it into our communication channels? And how can we build a system that is going to start today? So try and avoid the classic startup traps like, hey, like we can be a bit scrappy for now. Yeah, you can be a little bit scrappy for now, but that's going to be an issue later on. If you can lay the foundation, if it's easy to do, doesn't take much time, doesn't take much resources, get the foundation in today. Otherwise, you're going to hit that trap very quickly. And just because you're a classic startup and we want to have this startup mentality, doesn't mean it's going to work, right? Do you see the big corporations operating like a startup? No, there's a reason for it, right? So we don't need to go and implement a multi-million-dollar system that runs the entire business, but can we get a basic CRM in place? Yes. There's free options out there, like, or build something basic in Sheets, but get something in, not just, oh, it's up here. That doesn't work. And look, with that example, like, have like, use your brain. Like, there's some practical implementation strategies you can use, but try and think how, always go back to, how is this system going to scale with the business? If we double our volume from here, will it still work? If we 10x our volume from here, will it still work? If no, start asking those questions. Okay, why would it break? What would happen? Like, okay, what's going to cause this not to work at double, triple, quadruple the volume? And start answering those questions. Okay, how could I fix that? Is that feasible today? And if the answers are yes, and like they're super easy things to do, just do it now. Get the systems in place, build systems that will grow with you and are not going to hinder your growth at a later point. And next, that kind of leads us into that final point, which is going like continuous optimization. Your operational systems and processes are a living, breathing organism in your business, right? They're part of the furniture. Like, if you have all of these people doing things, but you don't have the system, it'll still break. So build the system like it's a person in the business. Get it working at its optimal efficiency. Make sure like you're reviewing it. Make sure you're looking at, okay, what are our systems right now? What's the bottlenecks? What could be better? Like, constantly review these things. How can we make improvements? Is that feasible right now? What's the time requirement? What's the resource requirement? What will that do for the business? And start making it part of your quarterly like review, right? If you sit down, and we just did a LinkedIn post on that, I'll leave the resource down below so you can go and get it. It's free. We did like a quarterly meeting with the team. We do it in all of the companies. We have a quarterly meeting where we go through what did we achieve this quarter, what didn't go so well, what went well. We look at new systems, we look at new team members, we go through every single department, what went well, what didn't go well. And part of that isn't just the people, but it's the systems, right? What isn't working from a systems perspective? How can we improve these things? How can we make them more efficient? How can we make them more scalable? So it's really a question that we need to answer and look deep into. But wait, like this isn't just a theory. Like let me show you exactly how I would do it and like dive into the systems that I use every day to get this right. So next we're going to jump to the screen. I want to show you exactly like how I would do this, not just give you a theory. And I'm going to share the screen on my business mapping tool, Louis, and we're going to start with a blank map and show you like from the start how I would start mapping out a business, start understanding the processes. We cover more of this like in specific business mapping videos, but this example will just how to start. Like, how do I get this on a screen? How do I start thinking about these problems? How do I use this to really understand my operations? Like when we go all the way back to step one, it was an X-ray. How do I start understanding the operation? This is it, right? This is where we start, step one. So we're going to jump into the screen. And as you can see, I'm on a fresh business map. So this is what I call, when I reference a business map, it's a visual tool. You can use the likes of Miro, you can use the likes of any whiteboard kind of software for this. We built our own because it's very specific for this use case. And as biased as it is, I think it's the best. But we're going to jump in. First things first, most businesses are going to have some form of landing page, right? So we start mapping things out like this. We go, okay, this is where customers hit the traffic. But this is where we need to use like our brain. We go, okay, how did people hit this landing page? Well, the reality is, I'm going to add another node. The reality is maybe they saw a Facebook ad, or maybe they saw a Google ad. And we start mapping this out. We start putting these nodes on the page. Okay, this is the start. And we can start like mapping out processes. Okay, well, that would lead into this. Then the Facebook ad would also lead into the custom landing page. Okay, well, maybe they hit the landing page and we can put our URLs, our call to actions in here. Maybe our call to action is book a call. What tool are they using to book a call? And we really want to dive deep into this process, right? People start mapping out funnels and they start going, okay, well, people hit this page and they hit this page and they hit this page. But what actually happens, right? So the reality is people hit this custom landing page and maybe next they go to a Calendly, book a call. But what's also happened is Google Analytics has registered a hit on that page. Maybe some other tools, maybe you're using custom tracking. And we really need to start understanding all of the things that are happening. People miss this out when they start doing super high level maps of specifically marketing funnels, and people don't really address this in other processes in the business. But start looking at everything that happens. If Google Analytics is registering a view on your custom landing page, mark it, because this is a process in the business. And if you're not aware of what's happening, you can't improve it. Maybe Google Analytics isn't happening. And that might be something where when you're reviewing the business map, and Louis has this built in so you can see what pieces you're actually missing. You can see in this output section that after a custom landing page, it starts understanding what should come next. The most common one is another page. Usually we have multi-step funnels. But this next one, 20% of the time, is Google Analytics, right? So it starts understanding what should come next. And Louis is going to help you like spot these operational inefficiencies where things should be happening, but they're not. And we just do this, right? We start doing a constant if statement. What is happening in the business? People book a call. Okay, what happens after this? Maybe it's a Gmail, send message, right? There's a message that's going out to users for that meeting. What's also happening out of this node? Okay, well, my preferred CRM for the past few years, although that might be changing soon as we look at custom AI tools and what's the potential of all these things going. But our current favorite CRM is Salesforce. Okay, create leads happening. Then what's also happening? Okay, well, there's a wait period. And then after that wait period, until that meeting, there's a meeting. Meetings happen, right? These should be mapped out. It's a constant recurring process in the business that happens, which means you can improve it, you can measure it, you can start going, okay, how do we make this process more efficient? This is clearly a sales call in this example. Sales calls aren't going well. Okay, we'll review this. What's happening? When are they happening? What's the objective of the meeting? What's the SOP of the meeting? Start logging these things in your business map. And eventually you're going to build a massive business map where you have every single process from point A to point B. Like we said, we're going to try and get it efficient. Sorry, we're going to start getting it consistent at the start before we start making it efficient. And then we're going to review the business map. How can we make this process better? Start looking at our numbers in the business. Start tracking things in BI tools. Relate that. Okay, this specific number we care about in the business, take it back to the business map. What process is driving this? Okay, let me look at the process now. Here's the process for our first sales calls. All right, maybe the show rate's low. Okay, well, what's happening between this Calendly booking where someone decided, hey, I want to take a meeting with you, but then they didn't turn up to the meeting? What changed? Okay, well, maybe nothing changed. Maybe we didn't send this email. We just added a lead in our CRM and we waited, and maybe this wait time was really long. Let's say the wait time was, usually I would say until the meeting, but maybe it was 10 days. Well, 10 days later, maybe they didn't want to do this anymore. They forgot why they booked the meeting in the first place. They had no context on where they'd booked it from. They've just forgotten it. Maybe they booked it off the back of an ad that they'd seen on Facebook at 10 p.m. at night, and they've gone, I don't know what this meeting is for on a Tuesday morning at 9. And they've just gone, hey, I've got better things to do. Well, how can we improve these processes? And we start looking at the business map, and this becomes super obvious to you when it's on a screen in front of you. Well, hey, wait a second, like nothing's actually happening. How can I install an email flow before the meeting? How can I install confirmations where we have someone pre-call and go, hey, 5 minutes on the phone, just want to confirm you're turning up to this meeting. How can we get the show rate up? And then what we do is in a business, and this is the reality of it, this is exactly what we do, is we map out all of the existing processes. We do the X-ray. What exists today? We look at communication. Maybe the salesperson didn't turn up because they didn't even know they had a meeting. Let's say we didn't add it into Salesforce there, and there was no lead in the system. It wasn't going on the salesperson's calendar. They didn't even know they had the meeting. That's a communication problem, right? So the CRM in this case would be our single source of truth. The calendars, the Slack messages for when someone books a Calendly call would be our communication. And we're connecting these things, right? And we're looking at how do we make these operational improvements in the business that are going to improve the numbers we care about. So we're looking at the numbers, relating them back to our business map. What number is our biggest constraint right now that is going to improve the business? How do we review this? How do we look at the business map and make that improvement on screen in front of you? Document it, show the team. Again, we don't want another communication issue. If we make a change in this, Louis and our business map becomes our single source of truth. Here's the processes, here's the SOPs, here's where things happen, here's what should happen, here's where we document what happened, here's where we track what happened so we can have our reporting later on. This becomes our single source of truth, which opens up that communication. And then we start improving these things and reviewing what can we do. And then we revert, we go back, look at all of our numbers again. What is our biggest constraint in the business? Okay, what's the process that drives that constraint? Or what's the process that drives that number, that's causing the constraint? How can we improve it? And this is exactly day in, day out, what we're doing to grow the businesses in our portfolio and what I would recommend to you. So to recap, we're going back, we're starting with an X-ray. We're looking at how do we digest what's currently happening in the business, get a basic business map going, look at what are the current processes, what are the current numbers, inflow, outflow, then look at communication. What is the communication flow like around the business? Where's data stored? Who's talking to who? What information is passing between departments? Look at systems. Review the business map. Design systems that are going to be scalable, right? If you're getting one lead a month, maybe a contact form on a website that goes to an empty email box is suitable. If you get 1,000 leads a day, is that suitable? No. So we need to look at designing systems. Again, document them in Louis or whatever tool you're going to use. Document the systems, make sure they're scalable with the business. Avoid these classic startup traps where it's just an excuse of why not to do something now. And look at practical implementation. Is this feasible today? Is this going to support the business's growth? What constraint is this relieving? And is it actually going to cause growth in the business, which means more money in the door, which means more improvements later on? So here's the truth. Operational excellence isn't a luxury, and it's the difference between a business that just survives or dominates its industry. So if you want to deep dive into all the things that we've discussed in this video, then join my community. All we do is look at tactics and strategies to scale businesses. It's full of resources. We do weekly calls where we literally go through live examples like this. We address your business constraints and how to relieve them. And there's a group of community members that are all doing the same. So if you want to join, the link is in the description. And I hope that you've got value from this video. So if you have, the team are going to make me do this, but like, comment, tell me what you actually want me to do videos on, and I will do them. And join the community. We'll cover all the things that are stopping you from scaling your business faster.